Good afternoon and Happy New Year. Thank you for joining the Minnesota Association of Library Friends for our first webinar of 2024. My name is Janet Eaton. I am president of MALF and will do the honors of introducing and emceeing today's program, Author Events as Friends Fundraisers. Sorry about the train if you can hear it. Some things you can't control. In the minds of many, the terms Friends of the Library is synonymous with used book sales. Obviously, there's nothing wrong with tried and true book sale fundraisers. Over the years, in fact, MALF has hosted many workshops and webinars around how to make the most of your next sale. However, most friends aren't one-note organizations. Actually, library fundraising is far more powerful and often creative space than some may appreciate. Among other recurring models, friends groups across the country have found great success coordinating author events, both as event fundraisers and as a way to expand visibility within their communities. It may be a bit un-Minnesotan to brag, but we like to think that our state boasts more than its fair share of standout achievers in this space. That's what brings us together today. We're going to hear case studies from Friends colleagues in 3 communities, Willmar, Lakeville, and Brainerd. As you'll see, each is different, but all intentionally and cleverly leverage our shared love of books and the authors who write them to raise money and public awareness. I'll introduce our speakers and invite them to present one at a time. After each concludes, we'll spare a minute or two for Q&A. If you have any questions on the information presented, feel free to share that with us via Zoom's chat feature at any time. I will read any we receive prior to moving on to the next case study. We'll start with Friends of Willmar Public Library. Willmar is a community of about 21,000 in south central Minnesota. It is also home to the Pioneer Land Library System. It's a network of 32 member libraries across 9 greater Minnesota counties. Group President Jennifer Ritz is here to represent the Friends from Willmar and spotlight their wonderful fundraiser, Wisdom and Wine, which I dare say draws attendees not just from Willmar, but much of that wider Pioneer Land service area as well. So Jen, go ahead, take it from here.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me. When my friend Vicki Melby, who Wisdom and Wine is her brainchild, got together and said, what should we do to help the library? We had previously been going around the state listening to authors just because we like to hear different people. And when we were in Brainerd for their event, which is an excellent event, by the way, we thought, we could do something like this, not exactly this. And this is how Wisdom and Wine kind of got started, because we wanted to help our library. It was a good financial piece to add to it. Plus, it would bring a lot of interest to our library, which we want people to be part of. So, we went to the Friends of the Library, because at this point, Vicki and I weren't even member of Friends, and said, we have this idea, would you be interested? Well, of course they're interested in the money, but we had to come up with our own funding. So that's kind of the first thing, is you have to think about who in your community you got a connection with that you could start with some ground funds in order to even put this event together, whether it's family, it's friends, it's business associates. So actually within a couple months, we did come up with our seed money in order to start Wisdom and Wine, because to begin with, we didn't know how much money it was going to take. So then we kind of put together a blueprint of what we thought this event should look like. And one of the things was, okay, we need a logo. Here we go. So we went with some people that belong to AAUW or PLO or people that we actually have connections with, and they came up with an idea. And one of them, we said, yep, this is the one. And people always ask us, why is it wisdom and wine and not the other way around? Well, it's very simple. If we had the wine in the beginning, we're just afraid there wouldn't be a lot of wisdom to follow. So that's just our little take on it. So what we came up with it after we got our logo was we needed a location. And in Wilmer, probably the biggest location, not that we wanted to fill a room, because that's part of the whole idea too, is how many people do you want to attend, is the conference center. So you go and we talked to them, got some pricing together, tried to figure out what it was going to take and how many people we wanted to actually attend. And we kind of came up with the idea that we wanted this to be an intimate night and not necessarily a full-fledged event like a gala like we see from our hospital or from our women's shelter or something. So we kind of talked to the conference center and we came up with a couple ideas, and then we decided a date that we could call like save the date almost from year to year, which for us is the second Thursday in June. And then we thought about some things going, okay, we're going to do a dessert reception rather than food to save on money. And we thought to give a little extra to friends who support the library more generously, we did an author's dinner. And of course, you'll have to speak to your authors and if they're willing to do this, but we do, since we do 3 authors every time, we do 7 people with the author at a table. If the author has somebody that they wish to bring with, we work with the conference center and we do a sit-down dinner with wine before the event so that people can get to know them a little bit better. And that's worked out really well and kind of given somebody who is a friend a little extra benefit. Getting the authors is always an interesting piece, and we kind of do ideas back and forth, and we try to stick with Minnesota authors or authors that have a tie to Minnesota. And not that in the future that you don't maybe want to change something, you don't always have to do the things again and again. So we kind of came up with 3 names the first year. I hate to say stalked people, but it maybe came close to that sometimes from going from city to city, listening to people talk and trying to get some information and a time to talk to them about our event. And we came up with our 3 authors. And then we said, okay, how are we going to advertise this piece? You could do the next slide. We think it's important that you get the notes out to people in the area around you. It isn't just about Wilmer. Like she said, for us, we have New London, Spicer, Montevideo, Olivia. I mean, Pioneer Land is a very large. So we would create a poster and we also to send out to give people information. And then for our friends, we give them a heads up in January on who the 3 authors are. And they have a week before tickets go on sale to the general public to get their tickets. That's kind of another benefit for being friends of the library, which helps that organization a lot. You improve membership, that's always money in the bank too. So then we got our posters and our bookmarks done, and then Vicki and I thought about things and we said, okay, Vicki said, let's go to our organizations we belong to and let's do some chatting. We can maybe get some extra funding for the next year's event. We can get the word out, sell some more tickets. So then we scheduled those events. So we decided, who was going where and doing what. And then as the money was coming in, we decided it would be good to separate the money from the friends' money, even though in the end it would all go to the library into a separate account. And we got a CPA to head it up, and we have a separate bank account for Wisdom and Wine. And that has worked out really well. We don't have to keep crossing into friends' money and having them write out checks or anything. Then it got to be kind of, okay, we set the price for the dessert event, and we decided on having 22 tables at 8 people per table. So that's 176 people, and we do not sell any extra tickets. 176 sold out, that's all. And the first time that we did this, we sold out in 17 days. which made Vicky very happy because she said being in sales and marketing, she would have felt like she had to leave town if this wasn't going to be an event that could sell out right away. So by doing some advertising in non-traditional ways, by talking to people using Facebook and stuff, the word got out and it went quick, even though nobody had ever had anything in Wilmer like this or knew anything about it ahead of time. We decided to make the event not just a sit down at the table event and kind of boring. We got friends who are good in decorating, and they actually decorate like it's a big wedding reception or gala or something. So we have a theme with our purple and green. And the first year we did wisdom and wine glasses, but we just did that the first year for the inaugural year. And our friends come in and they decorate for us that day. And then we got to thinking, okay, so you got everybody lined up in the room. Where do they know where to go? So then we got easels and we had signs made. And the signs would like point people to silent auction, and they pointed to where the authors' tables were going to be and where we were going to have books for sale. And that's kind of an important piece, is you need to have somebody there who can sell the books. Wilmer doesn't have a bookstore, and it's very sad. The closest thing we have is a used bookstore in a coffee shop. And just because it's local, we went to New London and we talked to her, and she loves the idea, but she said, I really can't put money out for books that I don't even know if I'll sell. Well, nobody's had a problem with that, but we understood her thought and we just used her as an MC. And out of the blue, we got information from Cherry Street in Alexandria, and they have become our bookseller. And it's worked out really well for us, for the authors, and for the bookstore. Every year they want to make sure that we have a table for them, not just for selling the books, but to be part of this whole event and get to have the dessert reception. So when people come in, we open the doors like at 6:00. They know that dessert's going to be 6:30. So from 6 to 6:30, we let them view silent auction items, and we don't do a lot. We try to keep it down to 20, 21 baskets at the most. We don't want to be overwhelmed with having people bidding on stuff or not bidding on stuff and practically giving it away. So we sat down and we thought, well, there's this dead time. They have a glass of wine. Let's give them cheese and crackers. So went back to the conference center, worked out a little pricing scheme for that so that they have something, excuse me, before we actually sit down for dessert. And then at 7:00, we start with our authors. We do our thank yous to the people that have helped sponsor us. And then we go into our authors and we give them at least 20 minutes to speak on what they want to speak on. When we talk to them ahead of time, we kind of get an idea. Sometimes they want to talk about a new book. Sometimes they want to talk about an old book. Sometimes, like Faith Sullivan, she just wanted to talk in general about her journey as an author. And at the age she is, how things have gradually changed for her. It's all been a very, I don't know, awesome event. The things that have come out, the stories that are told from people that are extremely funny and always very entertaining, because that is the one thing we like to strive for, is to have an author that is a good presenter. You can be an excellent author. We can love your books, but if we've listened to you and you have no audience appeal at all from what you're saying, that's not really what we're looking for. We can always sell your books, but we like to have the people in Wilmer and the surrounding area have an experience of hearing you talk about your whole system or style of selling yourself and your story and how they come up with. We also then had to come up with, after we got our book selling done, was creating our program, which is another slide. We don't do a whole lot, but on our program, you can change that, Janet. You'll see that we do put our people that have given us money get to have priority on it, and we thank them in the beginning before we even start the show. We've had some excellent help from outside the community, but we don't go to a lot of people. There again, we try to keep it to, if you love the library, would you like to help us? We don't need to have many people giving us a lot of dollars. We just want to pay for the event and in the end, have several thousand left over to give to our librarians so that they can do their programming. It's not about making major dollars, it's about giving an experience. And that's kind of how we look at our event, and we try to keep it affordable for anybody who loves the library and loves books. We have our ticket price set at $35. If you have the author's dinner, that's a little bit different because that's a dinner that's involved and we have a different ticket price for that. And there's only a select people that get to go. We do limit also when you have your friends get to have that time period a week before general public buy tickets, we do limit them to 2 tickets though, just because we want to have some tickets left over for the general public. And it creates more interest for the friends that way too, because to get that early buy-in, you have to be a member of the library. So that's helped the library a lot too. Probably one of the most important things is, you know, in the beginning, it was just Vicki and I and a couple people that put this together. And as the years have gone by now, we now have a committee to help us with it. And you don't need a lot of people on a committee, but you need people who say, I will do this. I'm not a computer savvy person. Vicky's not, that's not her favorite thing either. She's a detail person. We have somebody do a lot of the programming for us. We work with a print house in town that have helped us in kind rather than with financial donations to help us create all of the things that we need to sell it. We have people, like I said, that do the decorating. We have a few people on the committee that go out and get baskets or talk to book clubs to have book clubs in our area give a basket, because then that's a little bit personal connection too. You know, there's so many details in making an event a success that all I would like to say is that you really have to spend time in the devil of the details, making sure you've crossed all your T's and dotted your I's. Because in the end, you want people coming in that night to know that this is a special event for them and make them feel special. And I think, you know, with the help of friends and family, it's become a very successful thing for our Wilmer Public Library.
Well, thank you, Jen. That was great. We do have a couple questions for you.
Okay.
Someone asked if the bookseller orders backlist titles from the featured authors or just their most recent book release.
No, they will bring back ones, especially what the authors have recommended. We will ask them in our going back and forth. We've got Cherry Street. They want to know which books would you like to have for sale that night. So there gets to be a little bit what the author wants, not just what Cherry Street wants to carry.
And does the bookstore donate any part of the proceeds to the Friends cause?
No, because you know what? They're a business in itself and they're there to make money too. The fact that they spend Alexandria, I should say, is an hour north of us. So minimum, they're spending a couple hours on the road to come down and help us that night. That is a really big deal. Otherwise, it'd be much more cumbersome for us to sell books if we tried to do it ourselves. So we respect the fact that businesses need to make money.
Great. Another question is, do you video the author presentation?
No, we do not.
Okay.
We've never asked them, and it's not something that we've done.
The next one is, can you please describe the author's dinner? Is that separate or part of the Wisdom and Wine event?
It's part of the Wisdom and Wine event, but it's separate from the standpoint that you only have 3 tables, 7 people with the author. So that's only for 21 people, and they pay enough money that it takes care of the author's dinner, plus their dinners, plus a couple bottles of wine at the table. And it's about a 15-minute question and answer thing just amongst your author at your table. So it's a little bit more one-on-one, and people have really enjoyed that.
Okay. Did you interview authors first?
Not so much interview as, like I said, kind of close to stalking, but not quite. We would go many places. We've been to Hutchinson. We've been to Springfield. We went to Crookston. We've been to Fargo. The first year, especially, Vicki and I logged in a lot of miles learned a lot about a lot of authors, got some ideas for future years, found some authors that because when we talked to them, timing wasn't right for them. We kept their names and stuff and gave them to our librarians to use for our legacy funds. Because some of them are just so good, you hate to not have them be exposed to your people in your area.
Okay, and then what is the population of the Wilmer service area?
Oh, the whole service area?
I know you
Um,
said Wilmer is about
yeah,
21,000.
about 21,000. Spicer, New London, Olivia. I mean, we have many small towns around us, not big towns. Wilmer
Yeah,
at 21,000 is a big town. Everything else is very small communities around us.
okay. And who did you say helped you with the logo?
Actually, it was somebody that we just knew from going, you belong to AAUW or you belong to this group or that, and somebody we knew was was an art teacher. And we said, Vicky asked her to come up with an idea. And when she talked to some people, and then this art teacher was the one who came up with our logo. And we said, yep, we like it. Thank you.
Great. Okay, it looks like that's the end of the questions for you. Thank you so much. It was really informative. And now we turn to Loretta Ellsworth, who is a longtime leader with the Friends of the Heritage Library in suburban Lakeville, Minnesota. We at MALF are also very lucky to have Loretta on our own board as Vice President of Programming, and that's a role, as you'll see, she is eminently qualified for. Loretta is among the friends in Lakeville who pioneered One Book, One Lakeville, a community read initiative that established a reputation for itself in and beyond Dakota County. She's going to share more about that event program as well as its next incarnation, which is Books with Friends. Okay, Loretta, go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, it's great to be here. I've been a member of the Friends of the Heritage Library group for many years. I've also been chair of One Book, One Lakeville's program since its inception 15 years ago. At the time, the NEA Big Read, I don't know if you remember that, but that was becoming popular. And we wanted to bring our community together to read a common book, plus bring more people into the library. So we started our own community reading program, one where we'd bring in the author to speak and find a book that would appeal to much of the community, male and female alike. Our first book and author was Population 485 by Michael Perry, about his experience as a volunteer fireman in a small Wisconsin community. He happened to belong to a singing group called Michael Perry and the Longbeds. And so we added a musical component to the main event. It was kind of unexpected, but we decided, oh, this sounds fun. So we did it. And we also had a book signing at the end as well. And we worked with the schools to have an author event, and with the community had to have several events leading up to the main event. We had a potluck at the fire station, a community potluck, and just a lot of different events that related to the theme in the book. Since our library didn't have a large meeting room at the time, we collaborated with the Lakeville Arts Center to hold our main event there, where it's remained for the last 15 years. So that was our first One Book, One Lakeville, and it became an annual event that's lasted this long. We had no idea that it was going to be an annual event, but it did. So, and because we wanted this to be a free program, we relied on grants and contributions from the community, help from the county library. We received legacy funds, and we used money from our annual book sale to cover the costs above that. Some of our books and authors have included Jamie Ford, whose book is Hotel on the Corner of Bitter and Sweet. He's shown there with our mayor at the time, Matt Little. Christina Baker Klein for Orphan Train. And that's her with our friends groups that volunteered at the main event. Sonia Nazario with Enrique's Journey, and David Grand, Killers of the Flower Moon, shown there with Matt Little, who was our state rep at the time there. And also in the middle is a picture of a cake that was made that listed all of the books. That was our 10th anniversary. So those were the books that we had done so far. Also, Killers of the Flower Moon is a movie now, and I learned today that it was just nominated for Best Picture for an Academy Award. So we, you know, a lot of times we were very lucky. I sometimes went to the authors directly instead of through their through their reps to see if they would come for less money because we couldn't afford them otherwise. And also we were often lucky to get authors who were just kind of right before they became too well known. So they were, you know, that helped with the cost. They weren't quite as expensive. And a lot of times we also caught them when they were coming to do other events in the Twin Cities, since we're part of the Twin Cities, and they would come and do other events, and that would save us on the cost as well. For most of those years until COVID, we had a musical component at our main events. Shown here is the Twin Cities Gospel Choir for Miss Hazel and the Rosa Parks League by Jonathan Odell. And the next one is the Any Asian Dance Theater for the Song Poet by Kao Kalia Yang. We tried all sorts of different programs to bring excitement to the main event. Most of those programs had to do with themes related to the book, and most of those took place at the library. We had various speakers, book bingo, movie nights, and a lot of other activities. When COVID hit, we transitioned at first to a virtual program, one with a program host and speaker. So it was more of a conversational type of program. And we did away with the music portion so that there would be more time for Q&A. Then when we went back to in-person events, it became hybrid, where we offered people the opportunity to stream the event if they didn't want to attend in person. This one here was Christopher Ingraham. If you lived here, you'd be home by now, with Carrie Miller. And this one was last year's Ruta Cepedas, I Must Betray You, with Miss Shannon Paul. Unfortunately, due to county budget and staffing limitations, the 2023 event was our last One Book, One Lakeville program. The library felt like they wanted to go in a new direction. And this kind of coincided with me stepping down as chair of One Book, One Lakeville, so I could concentrate on my writing. And the president of the Friends also stepped down, as she was heavily involved in another project too. So we're both still members of the Friends, and however, we continue to volunteer and support the program. But the community and the Friends weren't ready to give it up. And we feel like we've learned so much in the last 15 years, and we've built up a warm rapport with the community. So our Friends group decided we'd like to keep the program going, perhaps in a bit of a new direction. 2 members of our group stepped up to take over the program, thankfully. And we're launching Books with Friends in April 2024 with Benjamin Percy. This first year, we haven't made huge changes, but we are giving people the opportunity to reserve their seats at the Arts Center, and we're offering live streaming at a lower cost. We're going with genre fiction, which is a change for us. It's different than previous years. We're still collaborating with the schools. The author will be visiting both high schools, and we're looking at other programs, such as the ones that are mentioned here today, to see, if we want to change it up more in the coming year too. So our transition is ongoing, but we're building on a successful program that was already in place, and we're betting that our community will come together, hopefully, to keep this going. So, you know, thank you for giving me this opportunity to talk about our program.
That's great. And there is one question. Aside from the Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund, what kind of grants did you seek?
We received a Walmart grant, a Walmart community grant for many years. As far as grants, that's the only two that we, you know, I applied for other grants and didn't receive them. I applied for Target grants, but didn't receive those. We received support from the Lakeville Lions and the Lakeville Rotary and Dakota Electric, and you know, throughout the years, like we would receive, kind of depending on the books too. Sometimes, like we would receive monies from Wells Fargo Bank. So some of our local community businesses and that.
Okay. All right. And from the same person, how did you go about seeking qualified moderators? Did you go with author suggestions or someone of local prominence?
We did. Well, Carrie Miller is very well known in the community. So we used her, and Miss Shannon Paul is also a radio host who's very well known. So we wanted someone, you know, with some local prominence and people that we'd heard and were confident would do a good job being host. So that's what we went with.
Well, was this a free event to everyone?
They were free events to everyone up until this year. So this year we are charging for the first time ever.
So is this okay? So the next question is this profitable? So
that's what we'll be seeing. That remains to be seen. We are still applying for grants and receiving contributions from the community. But we no longer will receive a legacy grant because that was through the library. And some of the other, you know, costs that the library had assumed we won't have. So this is why we're charging for the first time. We are planning to make, you know, a lot of money, but we want to make it at least somewhat profitable so that we can support the program.
Okay. Did you take into consideration the direction the library wanted to go in when planning the new event?
We did. One thing we are really careful to do is that we don't plan events at the same time as the library is having events. So that's something that we're cross-referencing to make sure that we aren't planning events on the same nights. And we're looking at authors that are different ones than the library might bring in themselves. So
how much were the tickets?
The tickets are $30, I believe, 30 or 35. I can't remember. I'm sorry. For the main event, and I think it's 20 if you would like to live stream it. And I should have written that down. Sorry.
No, this is great. I think the questions are really helpful.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you. And last, it's a pleasure to introduce Sheila Deschantel from the Friends of Brainerd Public Library. I'm also happy to say that Sheila is also a valuable member of the MALF Board of Directors. Many of you may already be familiar with the tremendous programming portfolio of the Friends in Brainerd. In fact, this group has the singular distinction of being named a finalist for MALF's annual Evie Nordley Award for the Best Project, more than any other group on record. Wine and Words was one of their initiatives honored in this way. Let's hear more from Sheila on how the local Friends grew Wine and Words into the powerhouse fundraiser it is today. Sheila?
Thanks. Wine and Words. So 12 years ago, hard to believe, but Wine and Words actually stemmed from myself and two of the Brainerd Public Librarians going to a meeting in St. Paul to learn about fundraising, which by far is not my forte. We were doing some training and we sat in a session, and I learned for the very first time about opus and olives, which is pretty much the St. Paul version of this. And I was absolutely fascinated with what they were doing, hearing about it. Sue Hall was in charge at the time. I approached her after that discussion and I said, would you mind if we tried to duplicate this in Brainerd? And she said, go ahead. You know, absolutely. We love sharing authors and books and all the things. And the two librarians, Laurel Hall, who is our library director at this time, she would be happy to share with anyone that she said they were in the front seat of the car and I was sitting in the back on the way back to Brainerd, and my head was right up front between theirs. And I was just talking the whole way. I just had ideas. And I always actually blame Wine and Words on them because I said at the time, at any moment, either one of these women who had gazillion way more experience than me could have said that won't work, and that conversation would have never left the car. But instead they fed it and we liked it, and I brought it to the Friends board. At the time I was a new Friends board member, and so I kind of approached right from the start this big, hairy, audacious idea to do an author and dinner event in Brainerd. And at the time the board had said, well, you know, why don't you kind of see what you can do, see if we can get some authors and come back next month and let us know what you got. So I did. That picture there is actually of Arrowwood Lodge in Brainerd. That's in their restaurant space. And I went to Arrowwood and I got space. And then I used to, before my life got too incredibly busy like it is now, I used to do a lot of reviewing for New York publishing houses and went to the book expo every year. So I had some connections to publishing houses and authors, and that's kind of where it began. I reached out to some of those that I really bonded with. Sarah Pekkanen was part of that first year. Sandra Brannon, I also met through New York, approached them. One of my fun stories is the very first author that ever said yes was William Kent Kruger. And I had created this form email, and I kind of ended it with like, why wouldn't you want to come to lovely central Minnesota in August? And I'm sure many of you have met Kent or obviously know of him. And he's always a very elegant, incredible speaker, and he writes the same way. And he emailed me back and he said, how could I turn down such a lovely invite? And that pretty much made that the staple email that has gone all 12 years with just obviously a little bit of tweaking, because once somebody like William Kent Kruger said you write a good email, you listen to the man and you stick with it. So that first year, once we started getting things rolling, our goal was 100. We really wanted to have 100 guests at that time. And kind of reiterating a little bit what Jennifer said was authors we didn't know, we stocked as well. Kind of watching YouTube videos and stuff, because it is important when you're speaking in front of a group. There's some amazing writers out there, but we also needed them to be able to talk and, you know, and share and really get people to buy into, you know, what they're writing and what their stories are about. And it seemed like that first year, you know, we got the information out, and we were planning on having it that second week of August. And by early July, we had sold about 50, 60 tickets, which was pretty much, you know, our connections and friends and stuff like that. And so I started to think about, well, what was I okay with? Like, you know, it's okay if it's a smaller group, you know, the room actually cuts down a little bit. We can make it really intimate and fun. And then all of a sudden it just started to take off. And so we got to 100 and we were kind of like, do we stop? And I guess I kind of looked at it as the venue is doing all the work. They're the ones that are making more food, setting up the room, doing all that. The authors are speaking to the group, no matter if it's 20 people or 200 people. So we let it ride. And our first year out of the chute at Arrowwood was 180, which was pretty exciting. We had a great core group of friends and board members that are still, many of them are still a huge part of doing pieces to this. So we actually pieced this together. Our layout has kind of stayed the same through the years. We on a 5:30 to 6:30 social. We do a few fun things with that. We've always had an auction since year one. We just like having that opportunity to give people something fun to do during social. And I always liked, from just kind of having the events background, I always liked making sure there was something for everyone. So if you weren't auction people, we also found those little ducks. The ducks are reading ducks, and we just thought that was funny. So they all have a number on the bottom. For $5, you could purchase a duck, and then we had some random drawings, and you could win something. We still use the ducks. They are now $10 a duck. And it's kind of funny how many people do not return the ducks at the end. We have to get more every year. But it's just kind of fun for people that are, you got auction people, we have duck people. Mark from Cashwise, who's up there on the screen now. Mark, I have told him, literally is the wine and words. I actually met him by approaching him 12 years ago with this idea. And he was actually doing a wine event for one of the restaurants I work with. And I just said, would you ever consider doing wine tasting for this idea? And he said, sure. And I always joke with him that, when we first started talking, we were talking 100 to 200 people. And it's so much more than that now. In fact, in 2023, we just had 826 attendees. And don't panic, I'll explain to you how we did that. It wasn't in one day. So that was year one. Year two, we also did an Arrowwood. We learned a lot that first year, and the authors were really, really helpful with that. I mean, obviously, I told you about the email that got the William Kent Kruger stamp of approval, which still exists today. A couple other things we learned at the end of that first year was just so busy and wild, and just you're doing something for the first time. As we all know, that first event is just kind of, live and learn. And my co-chair and myself at that time ended that event just exhausted. We didn't eat, we didn't do anything. We just kind of ran the whole time. So after we got the space cleared up, we walked into that other room, which you see in that picture earlier. And all the authors were sitting in that booth together. And I remember just tearing up, and I went, oh, look, they're bonding. And that was such a moment for me that I didn't expect. I just kind of figured all the authors, we put them up overnight, figured they would go to their room and that would be it. And they weren't. They were all there. And that was one of my favorite parts of the event, and became a staple of the event ever since. That first day, we always invite them, thanks to our consistent MC, Lorna Landvik, who's been with us all 12 years as well. She would always get them afterwards. They'd go sit whatever venue we're at, and then some of our team would be able to join them afterwards. And I love that part because they're all relaxed now. Now they know us. They know that we're not, we're just easy Minnesota people. And I just feel like a kid in a candy store sitting with those authors and listening to them talk and sharing stories. And that first year, I also learned from them if they were really commenting on the team that put that together and how well organized it was and how welcome they felt. From year one, Doreen Easland, who's part of that team and always has been, she created these beautiful little thank yous to go into each of their rooms. We all signed a card. We did some fun little Minnesota stuff, magazines, just little bottles of wine. And that was just something extra we wanted to do. And we really heard that was not the norm when they go to events. And that again set the bar, that we were always going to make sure our authors felt extremely welcome. So a question would probably be, what do we pay for these authors? So we don't pay for authors. We are giving them a captive audience. What we do pay for is their meals for the event. We pay for their overnight stay. And then the last day, we pay for their breakfast, which I will explain that last day thing as well. So year one and two were at Arrowwood. By year two, we had outgrown that space. And so we really didn't know what we were going to do. But we were very lucky to actually have the CEO's wife, who was a retired librarian, in the room year two, CEO of Grandview Lodge in Nisswa. And Grandview is a much bigger space. And she approached us afterwards and said, why are you guys here? Why are you not at Grandview? And we said, we can't afford Grandview. We'd have to do the dishes afterwards. And she actually helped get us into Grandview, which is where we still are today. which made a world of difference in what we could do. And so year 3, we went to Grandview. And again, I invited William Kent Kruger back because I kind of consider him a lot like Lorna, kind of like event glue. So every time there was a math, there he is. Every time there was a massive change for Wine and Words, I would invite William because I thought, well, people will follow Kent, they'll come. And so year 3, our first year at Grandview, we had Kent back and had no problem filling the room again. So it's kind of stayed consistent. Same thing. We did that hour social, sit everybody down. I've been to events where they go too long, and sometimes I'd rather write out a check to a nonprofit than sit through an overly long event. So I always have tried really hard to make sure we end between 8:15 and 8:30. So by the time the program actually starts, that they have their dinner, we tried everybody talking by 7. And I want people leaving excited for next year. That's always kind of been my goal, that they're ready to hear what's next year. And so during these transitions, we go to Grandview, and year 3, we put everything out, and I actually got an angry email after this event from an attendee who said, "Why didn't you call me to let me know when tickets went on sale? They sold out so fast, I didn't get one." And I thought, well, some people may appreciate a call to hear that an event that they went to one year, most people would not. So then we made the decision that we always have tickets go live on the same day every year. And anyone that knows me kind of knows I have a bit of a sense of humor. So that would be on April 1st every year is when Wine and Words tickets go live. And that was just really, just making sure people always know. You always know it's April 1st. And then on top of it, what I did to our poor team and our attendees is I felt it should be like a concert, like you're excited. So those tickets actually go live at midnight. And that actually kind of hurt me too, because I have to stay up and make sure the tickets are going well. But then I kind of get obsessed with who I made stay up late. Like, oh, look who bought tickets. Look who bought tickets. And then about 1 o'clock, I go to bed. But that's kind of been a consistent as well. And we will sell about 300 tickets overnight by the time I get up in the morning. So that's just been some fun little things that we've put into it. We stayed doing that all the way up to 2020, and that is when we did our virtual event. We did had our authors lined up, as we all know, 2020, and decided what to do instead is we worked with author Jenna Blum, who actually runs kind of a webinar type thing, and she actually put it together for us, and we decided to do it as free to anybody who wanted to attend that year, watching it virtually, kind of as a thank you for all the support they had given us through the years. Going back a little bit, I should say that the end of year 1, we raised $5,000 between auction and the event and all that. I remember telling a friend about that, and she said, "My gosh, that's a lot of work for $5,000." And at the time, our team was like, "We would have done it for free." It was so fun to get that many book lovers in a room, and it was just, just have a chance to sit with all these people that love books and talk about your library. Who gets the opportunity to do that? So really, we kind of looked at the money as, that's awesome, but the icing on the cake was the money. The actual part of the event was having a chance to talk to book lovers, in an environment that they loved, authors and books and all these fun things, but also really have a chance to talk about what our local libraries are doing. And that's always kind of been just part of it. You'll see the Wine and Words glass there. We've had glasses since year 1. We switched that format just a couple of years ago from the stem. And then we actually did have, when we hit our 10-year, we did have a special glass made with the 10-year anniversary on it, which has been really fun. That is one of the gifts that they get, that is waiting for them when they come in, and they get to use that for their wine and take that home with them. We also have always used a bookstore. We did have a bookstore, Book World. I can't remember exactly what year we lost our bookstore, but after that, we connected with Beagle and Wolf. And Beagle and Wolf out of Park Rapids, this is actually their setup here, has actually been a huge part of it for probably the last 4 or 5 years, maybe more, can't even remember. But they are great, and they do give us a little cut back for the books that they sell. But yeah, so it was after see, it was year 4 when we went, or no, I'm sorry, 2018 is when we went to a two-day event. Part of that conversation of the person that was upset that we sold out so quickly, we decided to do a Thursday evening, Friday brunch, which was really nice. And the brunch actually surprised us. We have a lot of retired people in our community, and they really like not having to drive at night. So the brunch was actually a huge success. So same program, 2 days in a row. The authors would stay overnight and then they do it again. Part of that too was what was happening was we do authors besides Minnesota, and sometimes they'd be flying in on the next morning when I would have breakfast with them. Some of them couldn't stay because they were going to Bemidji or they were going to the cities, or they were obviously using their time while they were in Minnesota wisely to do another event, and or Duluth, you know, any of the bigger places. And I thought, I bet I can get them probably a good size audience again if they just stay right where they are at beautiful Grandview. And so that's how that kind of happened, and it actually has been fantastic. In fact, the Friday one is so strong, it's crazy. So then after our virtual experience of 2020, and we're getting back into it in 2021, we're sitting with the board and we're kind of talking about, you know, what this will look like. And we really were feeling it was going to have a surge. We thought this is probably going to be a big year. And so jokingly, I said, well, nothing we can do except go to 3 days. And the board said, we should do that. And I said, oh, I was kidding. But we already had our authors lined up. And one of the board members I was actually going to do a whole different set of groups, a whole set of like a pre-show of different authors. And one of our board members said, but what if the ones that are already invited are kind of offended that you didn't offer that to them? And I said, well, that just seems like a big ask. You know, they're already coming 2 days, and I'm going to ask if they'll come a day early. Again, we don't pay them. And that year, all 5 of our authors said yes. So that's when we went to 3 days, and it's amazing, and it's a lot of work, but we have an amazing team. We've got a great team that works on auction, kind of looking at donations all year round. We run a different auction each day, so that's wild. This year, we're kind of excited for the very first time. We're going to go to electronic auction, kind of looking to smooth things out a little bit there, make it a little user-friendly and a little bit easier on our team as well. So we're excited about that. As you can see, we got got my little wine and words sign. We made that year 1. I think we spent $20 on that. Probably the best $20 we ever spent. That sign still exists, and people use it every year to take group pictures. Let's see, what else can I tell you guys? 3 days going forward. Like I said, you know, we got a great auction. We listened to our authors. It's been great. You're going to see a list here of the authors we've had. This will be our 12th year. Like I said, tickets go on sale April 1st every year. It's a great way to support the library. Our auction alone this last year, coming out of 2023, cleared $15,000 on the auction in 3 days. Let's see, what else has changed? Not much. We've kind of stuck to the same format. We have more authors. We now do 5 authors and Lorna. Lorna has been our MC, which we are so thankful for, all 12 years. We still do a nice little gift in their rooms. We do a thank you. We hang out with them. And I think someone just asked a question. I'm going to answer it. And that is true. We do not, the authors come for free. What we do pay for is their rooms, their dinner, every day of the event, the lunch on the Friday event, and then we also offer a breakfast. As part of the DNA we built into this, I always felt it was weird to invite a bunch of people, you know, and then just kind of do the event and kind of fist bump, and that's the end. So we have always stayed overnight as well. Myself and usually a co-chair will stay. And so then we are actually there at the venue if they need anything throughout the process of the event. And then, like I said, the final day we have breakfast with them. So I'm sure I forgot stuff, so feel free to ask questions. But it's been an incredible journey that we never seen this. I would have never dreamed of this. But it's been a lot of fun, and it sure doesn't work without kind of reiterating some of the things that Jennifer said. you need a good team with great vision, and the Friends of the Brainerd Public Library have been very blessed with that. It's an incredible board. It's an incredible support. Our community is absolutely fantastic to help us with that auction. We have a lot of book clubs that donate to that auction, a lot of community people that just help bring stuff in. It's just a lot of fun, and it's crazy busy and you're tired afterwards, but we do it and we really enjoy it.
Well, there are a number of questions here, and one is insurance required when providing alcohol? I would include not just insurance, but the license. And are any of the proceeds taxable?
Oh, come on. They didn't have hard questions.
Not yet. There's more.
Not that hard. Yep. So the venue itself has insurance. We are covered with our event insurance as well. And then, of course, the people that bring in the alcohol are also insured. What was the second part of that question?
Well, I was going to say
Taxable.
probably the person bringing in has the license, then you're not required to do anything about that, right?
Nope.
Okay. The second part was any of the proceeds taxable?
Any other proceeds taxable? I'm not sure I understand the question.
Okay.
Just
You know, yeah, if you're a 501c3, I should think
Mm.
you're not taxable. There's a tax
right,
exemption. So,
right.
okay.
Yeah.
And,
Okay. Going back to the question
and-
about the alcohol really quick. And this is, I mean, that's just part of that. I guess I didn't explain this. So Mark, with what he does, that part of that is just during the social, and that has always been donated wine. So that's just been part of their ticket is they get the samples. I kind of said a little bit about that where we kind of joked about it. I'm like, Mark, when I first met you, I talked to you about 100 to 200 people. You never signed up for this. And he always said, you know what? He goes, these are my people. He goes, these are the people, they get to try different wines. So he brings in vendors and stuff who are all giving little samples of their wine, which of course some people, we all got our phones now. So you take a picture of what you like, and then, you go in and you buy your wine and stuff from Mark and Cashwise, which is great. Because he talks all the time, and last year he actually got the logo from me so he could build an end cap that said wines used at Wine and Words. So when people went in, they could actually see that. And then the venue itself has its own bar. So they've just kind of allow us to do that little sample thing. So Mark's just there for the social, his team takes off, and then the rest of it comes from the venue. So people can obviously buy other drinks as well.
Okay. Oh, did I hear you say the authors are not paid?
That is absolutely correct. Yep. Well, that first year I actually called Sue Hall with Opus and Olives, and I asked her that question. And I said, just want to make sure I'm doing it right. And what she said, and I think it stands true, she said, she goes, you know what? They are getting a captive audience, and this is their chance to sell their book. And so we give them 5 to 8 minutes. Some run away with it. I always call it once the train's moving, there's nothing you can do to stop it. Just drink your wine, it'll be fine. But I always request the authors 5 to 8 minutes. I want everyone to get a little sampler, but again, I don't want people sitting too long. And that 4 months just really, really worked. And I did ask, Sarah Pekinen, she was just here again in 2023. But that first year that she came, I asked her, I said, I just have to ask, why would you do this? Why would you, sometimes publishing houses pay, but a lot of times they don't. A lot of times authors are doing this on their own to get there. And I said, well, why would you do this? Why would you fly to Minneapolis, rent a car, come and do this, event and all that? And she said, she goes, unless you're just a gigantic named author where everybody knows you and they walk in, she goes, you end up going, you're going to libraries, you're going to bookstores, you're going to different events, and people will walk up and politely ask you, what did you write? And, or just, if you don't have that, but what we were giving them, she said, what this is, and I mean, that was year one. So that's on the small end of this. I mean, she said, you are giving us all these book lovers in one room. And you just don't get that. So I think that apparently is the draw. And yeah,
Mhm. Okay, the next question is, what is the ticket price?
great question. It is $50. We kind of, as a board, decided we never wanted to outprice our purpose, which was get people to know more about their library, come into the library users. And so I probably won't always have a say in that, but as of now, we capped it at 50. We want it to be user friendly for anybody that comes. And that includes the wine samples, their glass, and the performance. And then we sell books afterwards, which of course is optional.
Right. And the second part of that is, what did you do with the reading ducks? Did you explain the reading ducks?
I can. So, and I don't even know how that initially started, but what we did was we numbered them on the bottom, and then for $5, people could buy a duck, and they went and sat in the room. And then as part of drawings that are given away throughout, we had, I think, those first few years, we actually gave away a Kindle. So we'd have one big prize in the ducks, and then of course the Kindle came with all this information about how that worked with what your library offers. Um, and so we had one big prize in there, and then we had a few things like maybe somebody gave a $25 gas card or something like that. So there was usually like within those ducks about 10 prizes of things that someone could randomly win. So at some point in the program, we would get up and we would do what was called the duck drawing, and we would say the number, and then they would win whatever that prize was. So it was just, again, I was kind of playing with that. You know, we never wanted to have people come in and feel like they were being nickeled and dimed. So there was definitely different things to do. We have wine bottles that we wrap in red or white Mylar to let people know if it's a red or white wine. And then any extra gift cards we get from the community, we would tuck those in those bags. So then you would just pick like for $20, you'd pick a bottle of wine. You might just get wine. You might get wine and $20 to Olive Garden or an oil change or something. So that was kind of part of it too. So it's just, I think the ducks were just kind of that low end fun thing for people to do.
Is your demographic and authors primarily female? From John Telcott.
Great question. 85-15 maybe, depends on the day. We actually do bring in a lot of guys. And I always try when we are looking at our authors, trying to make sure there's something in there that actually appeals. Obviously, William Kent Kruger is a great example of that. He's a draw for sure. And then trying to make sure, you know, it doesn't always work, but when you're looking for authors, trying to get a good mix of genres. You know, I kind of hope that maybe somebody came because they absolutely love what William Kent Kruger writes, but then they hear somebody else speak and they're like, oh, and they get introduced into a new author. We had a friend of mine in my book club wasn't going to come one year because it happened to land on her mom's birthday. And she said, I can't go. It's my mom's birthday. And we're like, bring her. She's like, she's not a reader. She's not a reader. And we actually had an extra seat. And we said, bring her. She'll have fun. I think she bought a book from every author. So I mean, don't say you're not a reader. Come on. But yeah, I mean, you just never know. And it's always fun, you know, to be introduced to a new author. So just trying to keep it, mixed up. So I always say it's certainly not about me by any means. There's definitely genres that are not my favorite, but it's not about me. And, you know, just kind of hopefully find something for everyone. There's been authors that have we've had come where I thought, oh, I wonder how they'll do. And they actually turned out to be my favorite of the group. Like, whoa, blew me away. So just never know.
Okay. NC nonprofits pay sales tax but can file for refunds once or twice a year. It's definitely different, and many small groups don't bother with the extra paperwork. Okay. Do any of the smaller libraries in your service region participate in your event, promotion, ticket sales, etc.?
If they mean participate by attend, absolutely. Yep. Yep. We've got a great group that comes from Crosby, which is great. They're about 25 minutes from us. They come. If they're referring to more like coming in and helping, if they are as a friend of the library, that's awesome. I may not be aware of it, that they are associated with another friends group.
Yeah, this is ticket sales, event promotion,
Mhm.
do they help out?
Not that I'm aware of. And they
Okay.
might. I hope they do. I hope they do. I hope they're sharing it. I imagine, take Crosby, for instance, I would imagine that they are putting it out there to their groups and stuff, and I would hope so. We've, in the past years, we've definitely done that, made sure to send them the information and make sure that they have it to promote as well.
Terrific.
Good idea, though.
Well, yeah, that's been wonderful. Before we let you go, since it's January, I'd be remiss not to leave you with a reminder about MALF membership. Our membership year is equal to the calendar year, meaning that all 2023 members are due to renew for 2024 as of the new year. Many already have done so, and we thank you for your continued support to our network. If you have not checked renewal off your to-do list, or perhaps you're joining us today for the first time and want to become more involved with MALF, you can get started by following the instructions on the screen. Thank you for your time today, everyone, and special thanks to Sheila Deschantel in Brainerd, Loretta Ellsworth in Lakeville, and both Jen Ritz and Vicki Melby in Wilmer. Vicki provided vital back-end support. We will share the content of today's slide decks with all registrants within the next day or so. We hope you have enjoyed our webinar. There's a lot to think about and share with your friends groups. If you have any idea about a topic for a future webinar, please share this with us. And remember, MALF is here for you and your friends. We hope to see you at our next webinar. Thank you all. Bye-bye.